Chapter 11. Who Done It? I had to stay in the hall as the doctors and nurses worked on Jason. His vital signs had taken a sudden dive, and officially he was dead again. I found myself pulling for him to make it back to the land of the living for a third time, but after fruitless efforts, Dr. Hillman finally called time of death. I opened my eyes with a sigh of defeat. No one would be interviewing Jason Kennedy to find out the truth from him anymore. A movement from the corner of the corridor caught my eye. Swiftly I chased after the person that I had seen. Soon I overtook a blonde woman who was having a distinctly difficult time hurrying in stilettos. "Excuse me."
"What?"
Her voice was harsh.
"If you're another one of those reporters, I have nothing to say."
"I'm not a reporter," I assured her. From the photos I had seen on the internet, I determined that this was Tamara Kennedy, Jason's wife. "My name is Ivy Thurman. I'm a friend of Conrad and Herb, the two men who have been accused of putting the wires in the chicken wings that Jason ate." Panic flicked through her eyes before her face hardened.
"What those two men did was despicable."
"They were accused, not that they actually did it." A note of steel entered my voice. I wished I was taller like Luca so that I could try and intimidate her. "We both know they had nothing to do with the wires Jason ingested, didn't we?"
"I have no idea what you're talking about," replied Tamara. "I really need to get going."
"Why, you just got here," I noted. "Don't you want to see your husband?" She stumbled in her speech, glancing back to the corridor where Jason's room was.
"I meant I need to go see my husband."
"Because it would look weird if you came and left before seeing him, right?" I raised an eyebrow. Tamara narrowed her eyes.
"Not so weird when complete strangers are chasing me down and asking random questions."
"Here's a question." I took a step forward, invading her space. "Did Jason know about the insurance scheme his girlfriend and manager had cooked up? Was he aware that they were going to put his life in danger for a chance out of an insurance payout? Are his finances so bad he was willing to die for them?"
"This is preposterous," she exclaimed, backing away from me. "Where's a security guard when you need one?"
"Jason is dead," I said flatly, looking at her face to see what sort of reaction she might have. "He died of another wire piercing his heart."
"What? No, it was a stroke."
Tamara broke off what she had been said in horror. "How do you know it was a stroke?" I questioned, bringing my phone up, showing that I had been videotaping the entire conversation. Her eyes darted to my cell phone.
"You can't film me."
"I already did," I told her. "When you admitted your guilt of murdering Jason, you might as well just confess it all, Tamara." Her face crumpled.
"We needed the money. Jason's been living the champion lifestyle without being a champion for the past few years now. He is beyond in debt. There is so much debt, he can't even properly divorce me. We're all impoverished from funding his dream. His girlfriend Kaylee, Stu, and I."
"So you killed him," I surmised.
"No," she protested. "At first we thought an insurance scheme would work. Jason didn't know. Kaylee and Stu went forward with the plan. When I realized there was not going to be a payout, I told them to knock it off. We'd figure out a way to make more money without adding hospital bills and putting Jason's life at risk."
"Then why are you so certain he died of a stroke?" I demanded.
Tamara hesitated. "I checked his life insurance. Kaylee had increased it. I was coming to the hospital to warn Jason she was going to make an attempt on his life."
"How do you know he died of a stroke?" I asked again. A tear slipped down Tamara's face.
"I don't. I just assumed."
"Why?" I was not about to let this go. I yelled at her. "I want an answer."
"Because Stu mentioned if an air bubble would get into Jason's intravenous line, it could cause a stroke. He had seen it on some television show," sobbed Tamara. "He must have told Kaylee, and she acted on it."
I looked along the corridor and spotted a security camera. I pointed to it. "There are cameras. It will have recorded anyone who went into Jason's room. We will find out who killed him."
"It could have just been a natural death, couldn't it?" she tearfully asked. "He could have just died. No one had to have murdered him, right?"
"I doubt it," I sighed. It really seemed Jason had used up all his good luck.
"Stu is such a good guy," sniffed Tamara. "He's just under a lot of pressure lately. I don't think he would do anything to harm Jason. They are friends."
I had the feeling Tamara and Jason's manager Stuart were a couple. It would make sense for Stu to kill Jason while Tamara was still married so that she could inherit the life insurance proceeds. Then he would be free to enjoy the money with her. If anything, Stu was more likely suspect than the girlfriend Kaylee. That will be for the police to decide. Tamara fished some tissues out of her purse, blotting her eyes. I saw a security guard and waved him down. Can you keep an eye on Mrs. Kennedy? The police are going to want to take her statement, and she really needs to wait for them. The security guard agreed to stay with her. I phoned the police station asking to talk to Officer Warren. When the receptionist asked who I was, I lied, saying I was Warren's girlfriend. "Hey, Anita," Warren's familiar voice said. "It's Ivy," I told him. "I have Tamara Kennedy at the hospital. She's confessed about the insurance fraud scheme. Jason Kennedy has died, for real this time, and it could be either his girlfriend Kaylee or his manager Stuart. I have a video confession from Tamara that I can send to you." "You know my email, sweetheart," replied Warren, a little distracted. "Okay, I will tell you again. It's warrenisacop@dragonnet.net. No uppercase letters. You can send the pictures there. And I did not forget our lunch date. I will be right there." "Perfect," I smiled at his response. He was a smart cop. "I will see you soon." "I love you too, babe," said Warren before he hanging up. I sent the video of Tamara's confession to Warren. As a backup, I sent it to Molly. If I was arrested or something happened, I wanted another person to have the video to use. "Ivy!" Connie hurried over to me. She looked at Tamara in surprise. "Tamara is waiting for Officer Warren, who will be taking a statement," I revealed. "We also need to get the security tapes to see who went into Jason Kennedy's room." "Why?" questioned a confused Connie. "Jason stroked out. It was a natural death, considering he had 2 surgeries and obvious heart issues." Tamara gasped and cried harder. "Connie, could an air bubble in the IV create stroke symptoms, even death?" I gently inquired. Connie blinked in surprise. "It could, but everyone is very careful here with the intravenous lines. We would never want that to happen." I nodded. Tamara heard Stuart and possibly Kaylee plotting to kill Jason by an air bubble in the intravenous line. This might have been murder. "I will let Dr. Hillman know," replied Connie. "He'll want to preserve the room so the police can look at it as a suspicious death." "Good," I concurred. "I'll wait here for the police with the security guard and Tamara." Connie rushed away to talk to Dr. Hillman. My phone buzzed, Molly having left a message stating she was going to share the video with a few other people within our group for safety. I approved, as this was a good idea. The more of us with evidence, the less likely our evidence would get buried. I texted her, asking if she knew Mayor Whitcomb's phone number. She didn't, but would get back to me. "Miss Thurman!" Officer Warren came down the hall, the other rookie cop who had helped him before with the files behind the police station trailing him. "Hello, Officer Warren," I replied. "This is Mrs. Tamara Kennedy. I think she's ready to give her statement now." "Great. Officer Cupper will get started while I have a word with you." Warren motioned me to follow him down the hall. "First, let's exchange phone numbers. I'm going to put you down as my new girlfriend, Anita. If anyone but me ever picks up, you're just looking to contact me about my upcoming family reunion plans." "You think this much subterfuge is necessary?" I wondered as I typed his name into my phone and put Anita beside it as a reminder. "Isn't your real girlfriend going to get confused?" "Burmer has taken control of the police department since Chief Williams is incapacitated," replied Warren. "He has some allies in the force, people he hired. He also has fired some of the senior staff who weren't particularly fond of him. So yes, I do think it's necessary for me not to seem to be handling information to Detective Armand's girlfriend. If I get caught, I might get charged with interfering in an investigation and get suspended. Then I won't be any help at all. Plus, I'm currently single, so I won't get you mixed up with anyone." I nodded. "I see your point. Have you found out any other further information?" "Not yet," Warren spoke in frustration. "I'm still feeling out who we can trust in the department. What about you?" "I gave the file to various accountants to check for inconsistencies," I answered. "I have people tailing Burmer to see who he talks to and what he does." "Be careful. We don't need to attract undue attention," warned Warren. He hesitated a moment before revealing something more. "Burmer shipped Armand to state prison." "What?" I exclaimed in shock. "Prison? Why?" "To get rid of him," grumbled Warren darkly. "None of us can talk to him without Burmer finding out." A fissure of fear traveled through me. We need to get him out. "Armand must have been close to discovering something big on Burmer," mused Warren. "Burmer saw him as a threat and moved to keep Armand silent." "What are the charges?" I wondered. "What is Burmer saying Luca did?" stealing evidence such as drugs, money, and weapons from the evidence lockers, interfering with investigations, aiding criminal organizations by leaking police information, distributing drugs and weapons to criminals, sighed Warren. There's a bunch of trumped-up charges. Basically, anything Burmer thinks might stick, he's thrown at Armand.
Luca hasn't done anything. I lowered my voice as Warren hushed me. How is Burmer going to prove what he's accusing Luca of?
My guess is there's a lot of falsified documents, some low-life criminals who are willing to make a false statement to get a deal on their own sentences, and maybe a cop or two in Burmer's payroll pretending to be eyewitnesses, imparted Warren. It's a lot of baloney, but if it carried out right, Armand could go to prison for a very long time.
Luca has a lawyer, right? Do you know who it is? I questioned. I'd like to get in contact with whoever is representing him.
I'm not sure, admitted Warren. If you go to the prison, you might be able to talk to Detective Armand if you're on his visitor list. Here's the address and visiting hours. Remember, everything you talk to him about at the prison will be recorded. You won't be able to visit him today since he's just been brought there. Maybe tomorrow at the earliest.
He passed me a piece of paper. I took it with shaking hands, clutching it to me.
Ivy, have you shown the video you gave me to anyone else? He asked. The one with Tamara's confession?
I gave it to some friends, I confessed. I wanted to have some backups just in case I was arrested or something happened to me.
Good, nodded Warren decisively. I think you should go one step further, though.
What do you mean? I blinked in confusion.
Leak it to the press, advised Warren. Right after you record whoever the last person that entered Jason Kennedy's room from the security camera tapes. I want you to leak both videos to the local and national media. Burmer will have no choice but to release Conrad and Herb if he has conflicting evidence and enough public pressure.
Okay, I agreed, trying to focus on my friends instead of my fear for Luca at the moment. Has the protest started?
It's in full swing, a grin spread across Warren's face. Acting Police Chief Burmer wanted to bring out water cannons, but the media is there recording the whole thing, so he had to settle for saying the protesters were there without permits and being a nuisance. He's supposed to make a statement this afternoon. I'm guessing he will try to arrest the protest organizers for civil disobedience. If we can leak the video right before he starts his speech, it would be ideal.
Great, I like that plan. I looked back to see Cupper still talking to Tamara. We should go to see the hospital security tapes before any other boys in blue come by. Warren convinced the security guard to show us the security tapes while Cupper continued taking Tamara's statement. We were led to a little room near the administrative part of the hospital. The security guard brought up the cameras in the hallway outside of Jason's room, backing them up to the time before Jason had died. We watched the activity on the floor, and everything looked normal, until there was a flurry of activity as doctors and nurses responded to the code blue that Jason was experiencing.
"Rewind it," ordered Warren. "That orderly, right there. Is he one of the normal staff?" "I don't know," confessed the guard. "I only just started a month ago. I haven't learned all the names of the staff, especially those on alternating shifts."
I looked closely at the screen. It looks like Jason's manager, Stewart.
"We'll have to bring in all three for questioning," decided Warren. "Stewart, Kaylee, and Tamara."
I quickly recorded what we needed to leak to the media. Warren got the guard to give him an official recording of the incriminating videos to be used as evidence in the police investigation. We thanked the guard before exiting the office.
"I'm going to return with Cupper and Mrs. Kennedy," said Warren. "I'll text you when Burmer is going to make his speech. You should release the video shortly beforehand."
"Okay." I held out my hand to shake his. "Good luck, Warren."
"You too," he replied, his warm hand squeezing mine in support. "Tell Armand we're pulling for him."
"I will," I promised. I headed out of the hospital to Luca's SUV. I sent the second video to Molly as well, explaining what Warren had planned on doing. I asked her to get as many emails together as possible to send the videos to. Molly replied that she and Chaz would start right away. She also noted my request early for Mayor Wickham's phone number would only reveal his office one. His personal phone was unlisted. I decided to visit Wickham in person, hoping to get him on the side of the protesters before Burmer convinced him to approve any arrests. The last thing I wanted was more people in jail to try to bail out. It was a short drive to the town hall, which housed the mayor's offices. There were crowds of people out, holding placards and generally holding up traffic as they walked. Driving at a crawl, I managed to find a parking space. In awe, I watched as hundreds of people chanted, "Set them free!" and swirled around the town hall and nearby police station.
Once I battled my way through the crowd into the relatively quiet town hall, I walked past the usual lineup at the clerk's desk, looking for Whitcomb myself, since the town clerk was known to have the pace of a sleeping sloth. I found a door with Whitcomb's name on it and entered without being bothered to knock. "Mayor Whitcomb?" I asked, barging into an empty room. Sure, it was a regular office, but no one was there. My shoulders slumped in disappointment. I supposed I would have to look around to find Whitcomb. I was about to leave the office when I bumped into Harlan Boggs, who looked at me in surprise.
"What are you doing here?"
demanded Boggs, holding onto a file a little tighter. I cocked my head to the side to study the mayoral candidate. Knowing I'm a terrible liar, I opted to tell the truth. I was looking for Mayor Whitcomb. What about you?
The same,"
lied Boggs, or at least my gut told me he was lying.
"Is he not here?"
"He isn't." I sneakily reached around and flicked the knob so it would lock after I shut the door. "Would you like to come with me to find him?"
"No." Boggs looked at his watch. "I have someplace else to be."
I firmly shut the door behind us. Boggs went one way down the hallway, while I calmly walked down the other. Once I was around the corner, I stopped, waited, and listened. Sure enough, moments later I heard footsteps. Carefully peeking around the corner back at Whitcomb's office, I could see Boggs fiddle with the now locked door. He had a frustrated look at the door before going back the way he came. Somehow, I don't think Boggs had wanted to find Whitcomb. Either Boggs was looking for something in Whitcomb's office, or he was planting something to be found later. It seemed highly suspicious. I began looking around the place for Whitcomb. It didn't take long to find him in a council meeting, talking with some other councilors on how they wanted to respond to the protests that were going on. "I would support them," I mentioned casually from the open doorway.
"Ivy," blinked Whitcomb in surprise. "Did we have a meeting?"
"No." I came forward to address the room. "Very shortly, information is going to come to light, proving Conrad and Herb to be innocent of the charges against them. This, being an election year, it might be in all of your benefit to be on the right side of justice when this information comes to light."
"What proof?" challenged one of the councilors. "Acting Chief of Police Burmer assured me he had proof as well."
"Not like my proof," I smiled in satisfaction, "which will be distributed to all the news media outlets shortly."
"I move that we support the protesters," Mayor Whitcomb said thoughtfully. "I've found civil movements to take on a life of their own when oppressed."
"Plus, it will look good for you when Ivy delivers on her declaration," another councilperson said snidely. "Choosing to believe an amateur sleuth over our police department, Mr. Mayor."
"Burmer's record has been less than stellar," retorted Whitcomb. "The few dealings I have had with Miss Thurman, she's always managed to fulfill her promises."
"Where is Harlan?" another person asked. "We can hardly vote without him." "He was trying to snoop in Mayor Whitcomb's office," I mentioned. "I interrupted him before coming here. Don't worry, I locked the door behind us so Boggs can't go back." I now had the attention of everyone in the council. "I knew he was a sneaky, no-good person," erupted a councilwoman.
"Hey, we don't know what he was up to anything," defended another. "All we have is her word of this supposed incident happening."
I rolled my eyes and focused on Whitcomb. "Can I see you outside?"
"Ivy, I'm in a little bit of a difficult situation," Whitcomb prevaricated.
"I understand. However, I think you could benefit from a quick talk with me." He had a look at his arguing town council with a sigh.
"Okay."
I preceded Whitcomb out into the hall, closing the door behind us. Jason Kennedy's manager, Stewart, was behind his death. The insurance scheme to capitalize on Jason's life insurance policy may have been perpetrated by Stewart, Kaylee, and Mrs. Kennedy. I have video proof, which is going to be released before Burmer makes his speech today. Don't let Burmer arrest the leaders of the protest movement. It will look bad on you when it comes out Conrad and Herb are innocent."
Whitcomb grimaced. "I plan on supporting the protests as long as they remain peaceful. Councilman Boggs is stirring up the council to go against me. This is going to be the tightest election yet. Many of the council have thrown their support for my oppressor."
"Do you mean what you said about Burmer?" I asked. "Where you stated his record has been less than stellar?"
"Burmer has a past. No one has ever been able to accuse him of anything, since there is never any proof. But the man can be outright insubordinate at times," confessed Whitcomb. "Now he's acting as interim chief of police. I have all sorts of issues at the police station that I can't pin down. That's why I brought Detective Luca Armand in to investigate it internally. Now it looks like Armand has been in collusion with whoever's behind all the issues at the station."
"You're wrong," I told him. "Burmer is framing Luca."
"Ivy, I am so sorry." He patted my arm with sympathy. "I know that you and Luca recently became involved, but the evidence is damning."
"It's not true," I insisted. "I will prove it. Just give me some time."
"Time is the least of your worries," Harlan Boggs slyly remarked as he walked toward us. "I hear cops don't fare very well in prison."